We're making vegetable soup today. We have diced tomatoes, kale, onion, jalapeno pepper, yellow squash, zucchini squash. This is actually Mexican zucchini squash. Carrots, green beans, red bell pepper, celery, and mushrooms.
Hi there, and welcome to Let's Bake and Cook Stuff. I'm Mary, and today I am making vegetable soup. In case you didn't see that intro, I'm making the most delicious vegetable soup and the most packed vegetable soup you will ever see. Now, what I want to tell you about this vegetable soup is it's interchangeable. It's flexible, it's pliable, whatever you want, whatever word you want to use. Use whatever vegetables you like. And if you don't like all of these vegetables, don't use them. And if you want more of something, then put more of something in there. It's really just a blank canvas for you to make this your own. I know if my son was making this, he would make it without onions, but if my daughter's making it, she'll make it with onions. We're gonna get started. I'm gonna put about a tablespoon of olive oil. So we're gonna get this heated up, and then we're gonna start adding our veggies one by one. Okay, this starts to waver, like get wavy, and that's when you know it's time to start adding in your veggies. That's when you know it's warm. This is one onion chopped, and it's pretty finely chopped. One onion, this was about 3 carrots, and those are also diced, about the same size as the onion. This was about four ribs of celery. We're gonna let those go first, they take the longest. I am gonna add a little bit of garlic salt and a little bit of pepper. And that's to taste. Okay, now these have been going for about a minute. I'm gonna add in 1 red bell pepper. You could use green instead. I often do. This was about a half a pound of mushrooms, and I diced those up nice and small, but they're gonna shrink. Now I'm gonna put the lid on. It's gonna go about 5 minutes with the lid on. Stir about every minute or so. I forgot to mention why I'm putting the lid on. I'm putting the lid on because very often when you're cooking vegetables, you don't mind if the liquid dissipates or evaporates, but I want to keep that liquid in there because I'm making soup, and soup is liquid. Okay, that's been about 5 minutes. These are nicely softened. You can try one if you want. Try a little piece of carrot. Nice and soft. Now I'm going to add my 1 zucchini. Again, this is a Mexican zucchini. I actually grew these one year. I didn't know that's the plant I picked, and I didn't know what it was. They taste a lot like a regular zucchini. They just have a lighter spotted green flesh, but they taste delicious. This is 1 yellow squash. They call it summer squash. And these cook up a lot faster. That's why we waited to put those in. I've got 2 pretty good sized jalapeno peppers in here. You can leave those out or just put 1 if you want. The ribs and the seeds were removed. Okay, 1 can. This was about a 15-ounce can of diced fire roasted tomatoes, but feel free to use whatever kind of tomatoes you like. I've actually made this and used fresh tomatoes and just chopped them up. So, when in the summertime, you get all those tomatoes grown in your garden, you don't know what to do with them all. Make a delicious soup. Now I'm going to put in this whole container of vegetable broth. Now this is just regular vegetable broth. If you're a meat eater and you want to use beef or chicken broth, go right ahead. A lot of people like to use low sodium and then, put their own salt in. The low sodium to me is sort of a misnomer in that it still has a lot of sodium in it. So, do you if you want the low sodium. And if you want really even lower sodium, just use water. And it won't have as much flavor. Obviously, water doesn't have as much flavor as broth, but if you're really needing to watch your sodium intake for whatever reason, and then you can spice it up with some other herbs and stuff like that if you want. And again, as I was saying, the vegetables are flexible. Your spices are flexible too. I'm just using salt, garlic salt and pepper, but you can put chili powder in here, put some cumin in here. Oh, that would be good, some cumin in here. Or some turmeric, or some even curry, or some curry. That would be good. I'm going to put these green beans in now. I like my green beans cooked pretty soft. I know that's a controversial thing in the food industry because a lot of people like green beans to be sort of still crispy, but I want all of my vegetables in here to be nice and soft. In fact, if you wanted to use canned green beans, these are fresh green beans that I cut myself, but you could use canned green beans and put those in there. I'll eat canned green beans right out of the can. I still have 1 vegetable left, it's kale, and that will go in at the end. And I have a surprise ingredient coming up. And here's my secret ingredient, green chili enchilada sauce. I love this on enchiladas. I use it all the time. Of course, I do make my own enchilada sauce too, but I like this sauce. First time I ever used it was because I had one. It was almost up to the expiration date, and I said, what to do? Wasn't making enchiladas because I really didn't want to turn my oven on. And I said, I'm just going to put it in my vegetable soup. And so, that's what I did. Feel free to use the smaller can. And I'm using the medium hot here, but if you want to use the hotter one or the mild one, feel free to do that. Now I want to get this soup up to a boil, and then I'm going to let it simmer for about 35-45 minutes. And then it's going to be soup time. Also, another pro tip I forgot to tell you, if you just want to make this for dinner and put it in your crock pot and go to work, do it. You can just dump everything in. I wouldn't put the kale in. Put everything in. Don't even bother cooking it first. Just put everything in your slow cooker and let it cook all day. And then when you get home, toss your kale in there for maybe the last half hour or so. And then you will have delicious soup waiting for you when you get home. And wintertime is the greatest time to have soup, but I really will eat soup year round. I'll eat it 365 days a year. And I love vegetable soup. It's super good. It's super good for you. It's low calorie if you're trying to watch your calorie intake. Everything in here is good for you, except maybe the broth. But again, you can use water if you're trying to cut back on your sodium. So anyway, we'll be back to finish this up in just a second here, real quick. While I'm trying to get this to boiling, a couple tablespoons of fresh squeezed lemon juice. You could also put maybe a teaspoon to a tablespoon of vinegar in here. Hey, it's kale time. This is, I don't know, 3 or 4 cups of chopped kale. If you want to put spinach in here, some other kind of green, mustard greens, whatever kind of greens float your boat, please put those in there. It takes about a minute to cook, maybe less. And now I'm adding 1 can of kidney beans that I drained. I didn't rinse them. Feel free to rinse them if you want. If you had some leftover rice or some leftover noodles, like macaroni or spaghetti or any kind of noodle, and you wanted to put this in here, put that in there. Really good. You could also put some chopped tempeh or some chopped tofu in there. And once the kale is done its job and it's nice and wilted and yummy in there, and then once your beans are heated, your soup is done. And if you had leftover veggies from a veggie tray, like your carrots, your celery, and if you use green onions on there, asparagus, any of that stuff that's left over from your veggie tray, just chop it up and put it in here. I have certainly done that. I've made a delicious chopped salad that way too. But anyway, we're getting ready to enjoy some soup. Those of you who like a crunchy green bean, there's still a good amount of crunch in there, but it's not, not like a raw green bean. It's pretty good. I actually like it like that. This is Vegetable Soup 101. Try this at home. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. You take care now.